Right now, in Islamabad, Pakistan, two of the most hostile countries on earth are sitting in the same building trying to not start World War III. On one side of the table, you have America, J.D. Vance, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner, the dream team of guys who definitely inspire Iranian confidence. On the other side, you have Iran, a country that has been bombed for 40 days straight, lost its supreme leader, and still walked into that room refusing to surrender. And in the middle, trying to stop a civilizational catastrophe, you have Pakistan, a country with its own problems, mediating between two countries that cannot stand each other and have not trusted each other for 70 years. There's a reason for that distrust, and it starts long before any of this. On the 28th of February 2026, the United States and Israel launched a large-scale air war on Iran. The strikes killed Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei and most of the country's senior military leadership. Iran responded by closing the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which roughly 20% of the world's oil and gas passes every single day. Global energy markets went into freefall. For 40 days it was strikes, counter-strikes, and a planet holding its breath. Then Pakistan stepped in. Pakistan has a unique position here. It has religious and diplomatic ties to Iran, economic ties to the Gulf states who desperately want the strait reopened, and a nuclear arsenal that gives it the kind of credibility in a room that, say, Luxembourg does not have. On March 25, Pakistani officials delivered a 15-point American proposal to Tehran. The US wanted Iran to end its nuclear program, cap its missiles, reopen Hormuz, and stop funding proxy groups across the region. In exchange, America offered sanctions relief. Iran rejected the 15 points, called them excessive and unreasonable, issued a 5-point counter-proposal, then a 10-point plan, then argued with America about which version of the 10 points they had actually agreed to.
They agreed to my points. Beautiful points. The best points anyone has ever put forward.
We agreed to our points, which are different points.
Same points.
Not the same points.
On April 7, Trump threatened that a whole civilization will die tonight if Iran didn't agree to a deal. Hours later, a 2-week ceasefire was announced. And now, on April 11, both delegations are in Islamabad for what is officially the highest-level direct meeting between the United States and Iran since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. But to understand why this room is so charged, why every Iranian diplomat who walks into it carries 70 years of very specific grievances, you need to go back, way back, 1951. Iran has a democratically elected prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh. He is beloved, he is a nationalist, and he makes one decision that changes everything. He nationalizes Iran's oil industry. Before this, Britain's Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, which would eventually become BP, had been extracting Iranian oil under terms that Iranians widely viewed as exploitative. Mossadegh decided his country's oil should benefit his country's people. Novel concept. Britain was furious. So Britain went to America and whispered 2 magic words: communist threat. In August 1953, the CIA, under a plan called Operation Ajax, orchestrated a coup that removed Mossadegh from power. CIA agents bribed Iranian military officers, paid protesters to take to the streets, and ran a media disinformation campaign. Mossadegh was arrested, spent 3 years in prison, and lived the rest of his life under house arrest. The Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was reinstalled as a pro-Western monarch. As a thank you, he signed over 40% of Iran's oil fields to American companies.
Mr. Khamenei, before we discuss nuclear inspections, perhaps we should discuss the time your government overthrew our elected government and gave our oil to your friends.
That was 1953. Very old deal, not one of my deals. Obama era.
Eisenhower era.
Same thing.
The coup didn't just end badly for Mossadegh. The Shah's rule, propped up by American support, became increasingly authoritarian. His secret police, Savak, tortured political dissidents. And by 1979, Iranians had had enough. The Islamic Revolution overthrew the Shah. American hostages were taken at the US Embassy in Tehran and held for 444 days. The 1,979 hostage crisis was fueled in part by Iranian suspicion based entirely on 1,953 precedent that the American embassy was being used to plan another coup, and then Iraq invaded Iran in 1980. America, despite publicly calling for peace, quietly backed Saddam Hussein with intelligence and supplies, including materials that helped Iraq develop chemical weapons later used against Iranian soldiers.
And then there was the matter of your support for Saddam Hussein when he gassed our soldiers.
Terrible guy. We got him eventually. You're welcome.
You helped him first.
That was a different president.
They are all different presidents. The policy is the same.
And then we get to the part that genuinely enrages Iranian diplomats every time it comes up. 2015. After years of negotiations, Iran signs the JCPOA, the nuclear deal. Iran agrees to give up 97% of its enriched uranium, destroy centrifuges, allow inspections, and put its nuclear program under international monitoring. In exchange, the international community lifts sanctions. The IAEA, the nuclear watchdog, repeatedly certifies that Iran is complying. In 2018, Trump tears the deal up unilaterally, without Iran having violated the agreement, over the objections of every European ally who begged him not to.
We gave up our uranium, we gave up our centrifuges, your inspectors walked through our facilities for 3 years, and then your president left the deal on a Tuesday for no reason we were given.
It was a bad deal. One-sided. Horrible deal.
One-sided toward whom? We were the ones giving things up.
Terrible deal. Everyone said so.
The IAEA said we were complying. Your European allies said we were complying. Your own intelligence agencies said we were complying.
Fake compliance.
And now you want us to sign another deal.
For the record, the actual talks are being conducted largely through Pakistani intermediaries, not face-to-face. But let's reconstruct what this conversation probably sounds like, based entirely on the public statements both sides have actually made. The Pakistani mediator, General Asim Munir, opens the session. He explains that both delegations have agreed to the agenda. The 2-week ceasefire is holding, barely. Israel is still bombing Lebanon. Iran is furious about this. The Strait of Hormuz is technically open again, and the clock is ticking.
I want to start by saying this is going to be a great deal. Maybe the greatest deal in the history of deals. Iran has a beautiful country. Lots of history. I have many Iranian friends. Great people.
We note that your country bombed our capital 40 days ago and killed our supreme leader.
That's behind us. Fresh start. Clean slate. I'm a very forgiving person.
We are not.
The core American demand at these talks is clear. Iran must commit to ending its nuclear enrichment program, not civilian enrichment with international oversight, not 3.67% enrichment the way the JCPOA allowed, zero enrichment. Trump said this at a press conference on April 8, and this is a real quote. There will be no enrichment of uranium, and the United States will, working with Iran, dig up and remove all of the deeply buried nuclear dust. The Iranian position, stated publicly by Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, is that enrichment is a sovereign right under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and they will not surrender it.
The NPT gives us the right to a civilian nuclear program. Every signatory has this right.
Not you.
It says nothing about not you.
There's a clause.
There is no such clause.
It's implied.
Moving on to Lebanon. Iran agreed to the ceasefire understanding that it included a halt to Israeli attacks on Lebanese territory. Pakistan's Prime Minister said explicitly that Lebanon was part of the deal. But the day after the ceasefire was announced, Israel launched its largest single-day bombardment of Lebanon since the conflict began, killing more than 300 people. America's position is that Lebanon was not included in the ceasefire.
Your mediator said Lebanon was included.
He misspoke.
He issued a written statement.
Written statements can be misinterpreted
By whom?
by people who don't read them correctly.
Then there is the question of guarantees. Iran's central demand, the one that makes everything else complicated, is this. If Iran gives up its nuclear program, what guarantee does it have that America won't just bomb it again in 10 years?
We signed the JCPOA in 2015. We complied. You left in 2018. You then bombed us in 2025 and again in 2026. What guarantee, precisely, are you offering this time?
My word,
With respect, your word has a documented track record.
the best track record. Ask anyone.
We are asking,
Look, I did the Abraham Accords. Beautiful. And the North Korea summit. Incredible summit.
North Korea still has nuclear weapons.
They're keeping them very quietly.
The Pakistani mediators are working extremely hard. General Munir has been on the phone simultaneously with Iranian clergy, military commanders, and diplomats. Pakistan also has its own very practical motivation here. Their Shia population is 15 to 20% of a country of 250 million people. Domestic instability is a real risk if this war continues. And their remittance income from Pakistani workers in Gulf states depends on oil markets that are currently in free fall. Pakistan needs this deal to happen, which means Pakistan is trying harder than anyone in that room.
Pakistan is doing a fantastic job. Fantastic country. Great food. I love the people.
We also appreciate Pakistan's efforts.
Maybe we can do a deal with Pakistan too while we're here. Real estate. Big potential.
The clock on the ceasefire is running. If no deal is reached, the war restarts. Trump has already threatened to destroy Iran's power plants, bridges, oil wells, and desalination infrastructure. Iran has threatened to reignite every proxy conflict across the region simultaneously. For Iran, the best outcome is a deal that stops the bombing, lifts sanctions, and comes with security guarantees they actually believe. The worst outcome is surrendering their nuclear program, accepting a paper promise from a country that already broke one paper promise in 2018, and being left with no deterrent against the next American administration that decides to try its luck. For America, the best outcome is a deal that verifiably ends Iran's nuclear program, reopens Hormuz, and lets Trump declare a historic victory. The worst outcome is a deal that collapses, the war restarts, and oil at $180 a barrel triggers a global recession, while the rest of the world blames Washington. For the rest of the world, the stakes are economic and existential in equal measure. Every day, the Strait of Hormuz stays closed, a fifth of global energy supply is disrupted. Every day this war continues, the chance of a miscalculation that pulls in China or Russia or destabilizes the entire Gulf goes up. And for Pakistan, which asked for none of this, the stakes are arguably the highest of all. They have sectarian tension at home, an open conflict with the Afghan Taliban, and are now mediating between two nuclear-capable powers with a documented history of not meaning what they say to each other. Pakistan's Foreign Secretary described the situation with admirable restraint. He said Pakistan has passed the first litmus test for a neutral mediator, and both sides showed confidence in Pakistan. Which means if this falls apart, everyone is going to blame Pakistan. That's how mediation works.
Before we close, I want to understand something. You bombed us, you killed our leadership, you broke the last deal. Why would this one be different?
Because this time I'm personally involved. Last time it was Obama. This time it's me.
You were also personally involved in withdrawing from the last deal.
That was a different kind of personally involved.
I see. Pakistan, you have the floor.
The talks are ongoing. The ceasefire is fragile. And somewhere in that building, a Pakistani general is on his fourth cup of tea trying to hold together a negotiation between two countries that cannot stand each other, backed by 70 years of broken promises, a bombed-out country, and one very impatient man phoning in from Mar-a-Lago. Good luck to all involved. If you want to understand where this goes next, the Strait of Hormuz breakdown is the video to watch. 20% of global oil moves through one narrow strip of water, and Iran controls the coastline on one side. That video breaks down exactly what leverage that gives Tehran and why it has terrified American planners for 50 years.